But I just have to start with something absolutely mind-blowingly bananas that happened today. I mean, you probably didn't know that Melania Trump was scheduled to deliver a rare public statement today. But even if you did know, you probably didn't guess she was going to single-handedly reignite the whole Epstein scandal in the process. And when she reached the podium today, in a very self-important way, she cut right to the chase.
Good afternoon. The lies linking me with the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today.
I mean, well, good afternoon to you, Melania Trump. I mean, I was watching that in my office. First of all, it popped up on the screen. I was like, what is happening here? And I was thinking, am I hallucinating? What the hell is going on? Whose idea was this? I had lots of questions. I mean, I guess one possibility is that it's a sign the war really is going that badly. So I'm going to talk to John Kerry about that. Another is that they are trying to get ahead of a story that a reporter is working on. I guess we'll learn if that's the case soon enough. Who knows? Now, during her remarks, the First Lady went on to denounce what she described as false smears against her, citing numerous fake images and statements on social media, and saying she said that she wanted to clear her good name. From what exactly? Because, again, the unavoidable question on everyone's mind was, why now? Why at all? Why ever? I mean, most people hearing her remarks probably had never even heard any of the so-called lies she was responding to. According to MS Now, lots of White House staffers were caught off guard. And Trump himself claimed he knew nothing about her statement, though that seems a little hard to believe, especially when you consider that Melania's own spokesperson told the New York Times that the president knew beforehand that she was going to make a statement. But, I mean, regardless of who knew what and when they knew it inside the White House, nobody on the outside was betting that the First Lady would give a surprise speech on Jeffrey Epstein. And when I say nobody was betting on it, I mean literally nobody. Because ahead of the speech, the prediction market, Kalshi, took wagers on what Melania would say during her remarks. Now, the anticipated topics range from education to peace and security to AI. They must have seen the robot. Who knows? But nobody put their money on a random denial of her relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. The few lucky gamblers did manage to make a few bucks betting that she would mention children or minors, so I guess there's that. The whole thing was even more bizarre, given that the First Lady seemed to formally stage her remarks to match the visuals of the president's primetime address to the nation on Iran last week. And having worked in multiple White Houses and been a part of preparing for many of these formal speeches, I can tell you where you give a speech is basically a signal of how important you think it is. And let me just tell you, Melania was exuding self-importance this afternoon. So now that Melania Trump has put Epstein back in the news, congratulations, Melania, let's just take a look at how she described their relationship.
I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell.
Well, a relationship can be a flexible term, I suppose, but we do know, of course, that Melania Trump has been photographed with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell over a number of years. I mean, there's the picture of Melania with her future husband and the two of them at a February 2000 party, and another of her with her husband and Ghislaine at a fashion show in September of that year. You can see it right there on the screen. And the Epstein files include an email dated October 23rd, 2002, addressed to G. You can also see that email. The sender asked, "How's Palm Beach? I cannot wait to go down. Give me a call when you're back in New York. Have a great time." And ends, "Love, Melania." Well, here's how Melania Trump described that email today.
My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence.
Casual correspondence, I suppose, maybe? Although in her response to Melania, Ghislaine addresses her as, quote, Sweet Pea, an apparent nickname that seems a little more intimate than the casual correspondence the First Lady described. And to be clear, Melania's initial email to Maxwell doesn't seem to be a reply at all, which is how she described it today. It looks like she initiated that outreach herself. And just about 2.5 weeks after that exchange, Melania and Maxwell appeared to have connected again at an event in New York, according to this photograph of them accompanied by Donald Trump and supermodel Naomi Campbell. So it definitely looks like the two had something of a relationship. The files also offer another detail relating to some other things that the First Lady said earlier today.
Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. My name has never appeared in court documents, depositions, victim statements, or FBI in interviews surrounding the Epstein matter.
It appears that second part about Melania's name is decidedly not true. In fact, Melania's name does appear in at least one FBI interview with an unidentified witness, a witness who told the agents that, quote, Epstein introduced Melania Trump to Donald Trump. Of course, we don't know if or how that witness would know that, but it would appear to contradict what Melania and her former modeling agent have been saying about how she and Trump met for years. So the First Lady talks a lot about herself. And in her own la-la land, she also tried to present herself, the spouse of the man withholding the Epstein files, as some sort of a defender of survivors.
Now is the time for Congress to act. Epstein was not alone. I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors. Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony.
Okay, first of all, I don't know if she's been living under a rock, but Democrats have tried to hold hearings. They have brought survivors to Congress to speak and tell their stories at high-profile events. But there have been no hearings because Republicans have not let that happen. And there's no way Melania's own husband has wanted them to happen either. After all, his Justice Department spent months defying a congressional subpoena for the Epstein files. So given all of that, it's not surprising that Melania Trump's bizarre, self-involved public statement also did not sit well with survivors. I mean, in response to the First Lady's remarks, a group of 15 survivors and family members of victims said in a statement, First Lady Melania Trump is now shifting the burden onto survivors under politicized conditions that protect those with power. The statement calls out the Justice Department, law enforcement, prosecutors, and the Trump administration, which has still not fully complied with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. And they add that it also diverts attention from Pam Bondi, who must answer for withheld files and the exposure of survivors' identities. And they issued a call to action saying survivors have done their part. Now it's time for those in power to do theirs. Maybe the First Lady can just saunter over across the hallway in the residence and ask her own husband to release the remaining Epstein files.